Okay, so here we are back with our egg, and you can see that I spent a lot of time filling in some of those sections that I started with marker and with crayon and some more markers. I really filled in this. I used colored pencil just to do some swirls in a pattern, different colors, and just to fill it in. And I just had a little fun with that. But right now we're going to get over to watercolors. And for watercolors, you're going to need a little cup of water, hopefully not too much. You're going to need a paint palette or some paint colors and a place where you can mix those colors, which is going to be right up here for us. I'm going to put a little puddle of water in this one. And the other thing you're going to need is a paper towel. And I'm going to teach you a really special way to use your paper towel when you're changing colors so that your water doesn't get all filled with paint. You don't want to waste your paint by putting it into your water cup. You want it on your paper, on your beautiful painting. And so I'm going to first show you how to mix colors. And the first thing that you want to do is you always want to start with the lightest color. So if I am mixing, for example, yellow and red, so I've got some yellow, I'm going to put some yellow right there. I've already put a little puddle of water in each of my colors to make sure that they are wet, because watercolors do like to be wet. So these are pretty bright colors. Now if I go over, I don't even need to rinse my brush right now, because if I go over and get some red, I am not going to disturb that red. Do you see any yellow in that red? No, the color is dark enough to absorb it. So I'm going to make a little orange over here. It's a little bit of, just make sure that if I roll it or press it down, then the paint will come out. Come over here and get that out of there. Okay, and I'm going to make an orange color right now. And with this orange, I'm going to paint, and I'm going to start painting from this side of my paper so that I don't get my arm in it. And I'm going to paint this section with watercolor. And you can see that I'm just pushing the color across. I've got a puddle of water, a puddle of color over here. And if I just dab my brush in it, it's going to hold a lot of paint. And when I just press it down lightly and push it across, I'm not really going back and forth. And I have a little too much paint here because I can see it making a little puddle on it, but it will dry eventually. Now, instead of rinsing my brush right now, which will get all that color in my water, this is where I'm going to use my paper towel. I'm going to lay my brush right on my paper towel like so. I'm going to fold it and squeeze. Just press down. And you can see there's a lot of color there. I'm going to do that one more time. Then I'm going to go rinse. And there's hardly any color in my water. All of that would have been in my water, and I would have had to change it over and over. But this way, I rinse, I swish, 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 and then I bring it to my paper towel and I squeeze it. And there is still a little bit of color in there, but I'm not going to worry about that because the very next color I'm going to mix is going to use that, so I don't worry about it. So my next painting color, I really want something beautiful. And I love mixing a little bit of green. Okay, so I'm going to mix some green here. I never use this green by itself because you can make so many beautiful colors. I just have a little bit of my brush is coming off there, so I'm going to take that off. Brush. And then a tiny bit of blue, and if I just put the tip of my brush in that blue, I'm going to get a beautiful oceany green color. Oh, I love this color. And I'm going to paint something with it. I'm actually going to paint right here. This is going to probably resist because I have some crayon there. That's okay. It might look like it's underwater. I'm being very careful not to go over the lines, and so along the edges I'm just going right along the edge with my brush, turning it different directions so that I have control. I'm in charge of my brush. I'm going to make it go where I want it to go. My brush hairs are falling apart. Okay. Now, I am going to do the next section in blue, so I don't even need to rinse my brush. I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to roll my brush in the blue. And I really want a nice vibrant section of blue. And it's going to go right here. I'm going to put this blue right here, this beautiful, bright, vibrant blue that I have. I'm going to paint this section blue. Some of the bristles on my brush are sort of falling out and getting in my paint. I'm not going to worry about that for this project, but if that was happening in another project, I might just take my paper towel and pull that off. In fact, I'm going to right now pull that end little bristle off. And now I have some of my painting already done. Again, before I swish in the water, I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to squeeze. Well, lots of color coming out. Now I'm going to swish. Look at my water is still almost clean because I'm being very careful about when I rinse my brush. I'm not just going to let all that paint go in. I think I'm going to mix another color, and I promised you that I would show you how to mix brown. I'm going to use this orange right here that I've already mixed, because to mix brown you start with orange and then you just put a tiny bit of blue. And this is, I'm going to get just a little bit more. And it's not the most beautiful color that I've ever seen, and I think I might have too much color on my brush. So I'm going to go get some of that bright orange again. And I do need to rinse my brush this time before I go get orange, because it was in that blue, that dark blue. And so now I need to go and get the orange. Is much lighter than blue. I did need to clean my brush. Let's just go over here and put it in here. Now I'm getting that brown I wanted. And if you just mix orange first, put some orange and then a touch of blue, and just keep adding a little bit of blue until you get the color you want. I'm going to paint one of the edge sections brown, and I'm just going to paint this one right here. Isn't that a nice brown? And you can make it darker or lighter. If you do it with purple instead of blue, it will be more grayish brown. You can add just a tiny bit more blue and make it darker. And I will do another side section right here, and I can make it a completely different color of brown. And it's so much nicer to have all this variety, because there isn't just one color of brown in the world. There are lots of different colors of brown. All right, I'm going to squeeze my brush, and I'm going to use some of these colors just straight out of my paint palette. I'm going to start with the light colors. And I want to make sure I have water in here. Yes, I do. And this yellow is beautiful. In fact, it is so beautiful. I'm going to put it right in the middle. It's really a bright yellow. I'm going to try really hard not to touch this blue because it's not dry. And if I touch that blue, it's going to run together. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can make some beautiful colors by letting two colors mix together on their own on the paper. It's a nice watercolor technique that a lot of people use, and it makes you have a little surprise go on your paper. Now, did you see how I just dipped in water? My paintbrush was getting a little dry, but if you just dip in the water, and since my water's nice and clean, I can get my paint to get wet again, and I can just brush right on top of it, and I really don't need to get more paint. I had a lot of paint. So make sure your paintbrush is wet, because it does not like to be dry when you're doing watercolors. In fact, if it looks like this, it's saying, ow, ow. It does not like that at all. It likes to be wet. It likes to have nice wet color in it. And then, let's see, did I do an orange one? No, I didn't. Let's do an orange one. Do an orange. We're going to go right up this side of the colors. I might have moved the colors a little too far away. but I want to do an orange color, and I am going to do that right here. Ooh, that is bright. Ooh, nice. So you can use your colors straight out of the palette, or you can mix them and make all kinds of nice colors. Usually at this time of year, we start doing a color mixing lesson that helps us to paint some really interesting looking frogs. And I will do a frog lesson. So if you have a chance to get some watercolors, you can just buy really inexpensive watercolors. This is a brand called Prang, and I'll clean that up and show that to you at the end. So I'm going to continue to paint with these really bright colors. Red is next for me. It's really thick. It's wet, but it's thick. So I might need some more water, but I am going to put that right here. I think it's really beautiful. Got kind of a interesting shape here that I'm making. And if I wanted to make a purple color, I could mix red and blue and make a really pretty color. Purple is in the box, but it's nice straight out of the box too. You just have to think about it that you don't just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. You have all the colors that you can imagine by mixing. And sometimes you'll mix yourself a beautiful color, you'll paint with it, and then the next time you want to mix it, it doesn't come out the same, but that's what watercolor does. It's beautiful, it's surprising, it's fun, it makes a nice thing. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the watercolor parts of this egg, and when I come back, it's going to be completely dry. I'm going to leave it to dry for a long time, maybe overnight, and then I will show you what we're going to do with these lines in between the sections. All right, I'll see you back here then. So before we go, I do want to show you how to clean your brush and what to do with it. Brushes need to be cleaned, and you can see my water isn't still not all the way dirty. It's still pretty clean. I'm going to, look how beautiful my paper towel is. I'm going to squeeze all, rinse, 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 swish, swish, swish. I'm going to make sure all the color is out of my brush. And I'm just going to sort of reshape it by gently pulling it. And once it is reshaped, I am not going to set it inside this paint palette. The reason is because if I set it here, a lot of times there's water underneath or some color, and this brush will be sitting in the color, this part of this. The handle will get paint on it, the brush will be painted. So what you want to do is you want to just set it on the paint palette top here and just let it rest there and dry, and it's not in any paint. But first I need to clean the top of my palette, so I'm going to just show you that I just set this in there. I just press down and the paper towel wipes up most of the color. It will wipe up most of it, and then all I have to do is come along with a clean paper towel and I can clean that out, and it will look almost new. And you can see that my paint palette still looks almost new because I did not mix my colors with each other. I didn't mix here in the little cup. I mixed all my colors here. So put your paintbrush down nicely on here or on another, even it could be across my water bowl, like so. Please don't stand it in the water. It does not like to stand there, and the bristles of the brush will get ruined that way. So lay it down flat, but up on the back, not in the little tray here. All right, that's just a little tip from me. And now I will see you next time when we will finish our egg.